And I want to go on record here as saying I probably should have recognized that was wrong because he didn't have a setup. I do want to make a quick comment, and I love the fact that we have such neighborhood support Carolyn Lake. So just to make sure you know that in this meeting, this is our first reading only on it. I just don't want anyone to be disappointed. We also had an agenda study earlier today in which we asked many, many questions that we'll have by the time we get to our January 19th meeting. And we have made arrangements in advance to have that January 19th meeting at our Planning Center so that you'll have an opportunity to have even more red sugar. All right, I will call our meeting to order. And the first thing we need to do is have a motion to adjourn sine die.
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All right. Discussion by commissioners. And yes, Commissioner Reed.
I'll second. I'm
Third. We have a third. There's so much enthusiasm. Any other discussion by commissioners? This is the formal step of ending one commission that represented Commissioner Franklin, and then beginning a new commission starting for 2021. Commissioner Madden.
Is this when we welcome our esteemed colleague?
We can also do that at this very time. Yes, go ahead.
Well, then I would love to be first to be able to welcome our new colleague and former colleague, Commissioner Selvage, to the seat with us. We're excited to have you on board. We're thankful that you would accept the challenge. And I know you probably are familiar with a lot of these residents who probably came to see you again today, too. And we're excited to have you here. So thank you.
Well, thank you all. I never thought this year would begin with this, seeing old friends. It's an honor to serve. I'm here because I was asked, and because of my love for this city, my admiration for this staff, and my really high esteem for those who serve in elected office. It is tough doing that these days, and so because of who's with me up here is why I'm here. I do have to say that there was a young lady who made a Facebook comment about my appointment, and she said, "Ugh, not that old horse again." So to her, I'm reminded of Toby Keith's country song, about as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I always was. So, but I do promise to minimize to you all and to my colleagues, this is the way we used to do it, or we shouldn't do that. We tried that before, and look to the future. There's a lot of challenges, and so I hope to be a contributor. For those out there thinking about running for this seat, please go see Kelly Coos on April 15th.
That's after you see a council.
Right, city clerk. I am not here to be elected. I'm hoping that there are people out there who want to serve up here. So please do that. And thank you all for welcoming.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Walker.
I tell you what, Commissioner Salvage, if that comment was made about you being the old horse, I imagine what's going to be made about me in a couple of years when I'm done. So, but anyway, you know, we go back because our former commission days, and even before that, when you and I served on the Chamber of Commerce Board, and how we got to know each other so many moons ago, but have always appreciated it. But the only thing I don't like it is because now we can't talk.
That's right.
We can't talk. We had the freedom to talk before, so welcome
you
aboard.
You've done most of the talking. I've been listening.
Okay.
I'm done.
Well, then I will ask for all those in favor for the motion to adjourn, the sine die, to say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. That brings us to a motion to reconvene as the 2021 City Commission with Commissioner Selvage on board.
Move to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in, is there any discussion among commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Also unanimously passes. So welcome aboard. A full welcome aboard. I would now accept nominations for Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Madden. Oops.
I move to nominate my colleague Commissioner McCarley as Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
And that's the second? And the second? Okay. Any other nominees? All those in, any discussion by the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We don't have to do this
You
anymore
know,
because we're in the room
We've been in
together.
meetings all day, we're going to raise our hand.
Unanimously passes. Thank you very much. So congratulations. All right, presentations, beautification awards, and is Connie here today, or is that Bill? It's Bill. So Bill does a great job on this, where we acknowledge the residents and commercial property that have receives the award for January. A 50-year employee making Lakeland beautiful. Thank you so much.
50 years and 7 months.
Don't forget the 7 months, right?
Like first up, we have the residential award. This is from the Sandpiper neighborhood. Let me get over closer to this, yeah. Yeah, thank you. This is a house located at 5840 Mallard Drive. As you can see, it's beautifully landscaped with the palms and beautiful plantings and things. I believe Eileen Clausen may be here to accept the award for her property today. Are you here, Eileen? Oh, great.
All right, Eileen. Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Okay. Mary McCarty on the beautification board, she actually nominated you, so. Okay. We'll get a picture here. Great job.
Well, it says I'm a Florida Master Gardener. You all can be too. You go to the county extension and sign up. And I also belong to the Beacon Hill Garden Club. And we meet once a month and discuss what we need in our yard to make sure you got the right plants in the right place.
We got a
Thank
lot.
you.
Okay, well, thank you. You did a nice job.
It's for you.
Okay, second up here, we have this is actually a brand-new project located on Carpenter's Way, 771 Carpenter's Way. It's a brand-new assisted living facility. This is just the first phase of a much larger project. They went to great lengths to landscape this. There's actually an interior courtyard you can't see. They actually hired a big crane to go in there and move these very large palms and other plants into the courtyard. But the whole thing is beautifully and professionally done. They've got some very unusual palms in there, windmill palms that are, I've actually seen the windmill palms growing in British Columbia recently. They're that hardy, so we'll have to see how well they do in this hotter climate. So, is anyone here from the Lake Gibson Village to accept the award today?
I do not see them, sir.
Well, I'll drop by there and put a sign on the property this afternoon, and also I'll make sure this document is mailed to them about their award. So this is really a nice property right here, though. They just completed it maybe a month ago, so it's very new. So, okay, that's about all I've got then. So I guess we're on to the next phase of the project then.
Thank you so much for your service, sir. All right, well, that brings us to a presentation, but before I do that, I wanted to mention that we do not have City Manager Scharouse with us today. We have Assistant City Manager Emily Cologne joining us today, so as we go through the meeting, and you may wonder where our City Manager is, he is unavailable to be here today. All right, our next presentation is the Lakeland Toastmasters Award, and is there a Toastmaster representative here? Good, because I worry about all the things I say. Let me read this to you if I could. As Toastmasters is really an incredible organization. Lakeland Toastmasters International Club 2262 is a nonprofit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills that help to overcome barriers to effective performance in every endeavor and line of work.
Since January 24th, 1961, Lakeland Toastmasters International 2262 has helped people of all backgrounds become more confident by assisting in the development of essential communications, listening, and leadership skills. Lakeland Toastmasters performs a valuable service to achieve clearer communication, improved leadership skills, enhanced teamwork, effective meetings, increased productivity, and positive mentoring and nurturing. Lakeland Toastmasters has for 60 years equipped both the current and future leaders of Lakeland, Polk County, and the state of Florida, the United States, and its borders. And so we have for them, and we do this annually in January, a proclamation for them that we will get to them on this basis. They meet monthly. If you're ever interested in meeting with Toastmasters, I'll represent them for just a second. It is online. And it is less formal than you might think that it is, and it's a great opportunity to enhance speaking skills. It's just that anytime you say or something, they drop a penny in a jar, and you can hear all the clicking around the room. But you have to get over that, and so they do a great work, and so we're appreciative of them.
Yay, Toastmasters.
All right, we will now move to committee reports and related items, and our first report and only committee report today is from this commission standpoint, is Real Estate and Transportation Committee, and our chairman, Commissioner Reed, will give that report. Commissioner Reed?
Thank you, Mayor. The Real Estate and Transportation Committee met this morning by go-to meeting. Commissioner Bill Reed, Chair, Commissioner Muntz, Commissioner Walker, and members of staff were present, as well as the public was able to view the meeting by online or local channels. I called the meeting to order at 10:32 a.m. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss 3 items. Number 1, the Second Amendment to lease agreement with Black and Brew Coffee House and Briscoe, LLC, at the city main library. The library will undergo significant construction to replace the central heat and air system, ceilings, lighting, and construction of the Lakeland Historical and Culture Center, which is housed inside the library. The construction project is planned in 2 phases. The first phase will result in the closure of the adult service area, and the second phase will result in the closure of the meeting room and youth service spaces. The first phase is anticipated to start in February 2021. The entire project should take approximately 12 months to complete. During the disruption of the normal library operation and reduction of traffic and location, the city and staff have amended the city's Black and Blue lease agreement to enable the operations to operate free for 1 year at a time while the library is under construction. Accordingly, Black and Brew will provide with abatement of the rent for a period of 1 year, commencing February 1st, 2021, ending January 31st, 2022. Thereafter, Black and Brew will continue to pay rent at the current rate of $1,181.42 per month, in addition to any applicable sales tax. Black and Brew initial term lease will also be extended for 1 additional term from January 31st to 2023. All of the terms and conditions of the lease will remain in full force and effect. Commissioner Walker moved to approve the recommendation. Mayor Muntz seconded. The motion carried unanimously. The second order of business was the transfer of 601 North Vermont Avenue from the City of Lakeland to the Lakeland Community Redevelopment Agency. The Lakeland CRA, as we call it, in partnership with the Housing Division, is currently working with the Polk County Property Appraiser to combine 3 non-conforming parcels within the Parker Street neighborhood to a single conforming lot in order to add additional affordable housing to the land bank. All parcels are owned by the Lakeland CRA, except for 601 North Vermont Avenue, which is owned by the City of Lakeland. In order to facilitate a combination of the non-conforming parcels into a single conforming lot, and otherwise add the land to the land bank construction of affordable housing units, staff recommended that the City Commission approve the transfer of the parcel from the City of Lakeland to the Lakeland City Community Redevelopment Agency. I get used to calling it CRA. I have a time getting to it. And authorize the appropriate city officials to execute all necessary documents to finalize the transaction. Commissioner Walker moved to approve the recommendation. Commissioner Bill Reed seconded the motion, carried unanimously. The last order of business was a drainage easement between Rufin Air Park West Property Owners Association and 4070 Hamilton Road. The Rufins own an existing business park on the corner of Hamilton Road and Acura Drive along Drainfield Road. The existing retention pond for the business park drains onto Hamilton Road north of the residential houses, and there have been drainage issues along Hamilton Roads. The Rufins are building a new speculative multi-tenant ground level 27,300 square foot warehouse on the last remaining lot of the business park development. In conjunction with the new construction, the Rufins are seeking to reroute the outfall from the retention pond to alleviate drainage issues along Hamilton Road. The Rufins have been working with the city staff to design a new outfall along the northern boundary of the line of the city's adjacent property at 4070 Hamilton Road and negotiate the drainage easement. All construction for the new outfall and the existing will be removed, and anticipated the drainage along Hamilton Road will be improved. All the proposed work and future maintenance and repairs will be completed by the Rufins at their expense. The staff recommended that the city commission approve the drainage easement agreement with the Rufins and authorize the appropriate officials to execute the documents. Commissioner Walker moved to approve. Mayor Bill Bunce seconded the motion, and it carried unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 10:40 a.m. today.
Is there a motion to approve these either severally or jointly?
Move to approve jointly.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Selvage. All discussion by any of the commissioners on any of these points? Some of this drainage on the third point will actually be coordinated on a longer-term basis with the county as well as it impacts the areas it grows. We had that discussion today in the agenda study, but this alleviates the problem that adjoins these properties, and everyone is in full agreement that it's affected by them. Any discussion by the audience on this? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Thank you very much, Commissioner Reed, for that report. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner McLeod. The consent agenda is the only item on the commission minutes are the only item on the consent agenda on this particular agenda. Any discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes as well. So that then brings us to where we cease meeting as a commission and we begin to meet as an equalization board, and the lots and clearing report that our city attorney Davis will talk us.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask that this hearing get moved to the end of the meeting so that we can have the scroll of the roll available. It's not currently available. So if we could just move this to the end of the meeting.
Allows us to reconvene as a commission, and we'll move that to the end of the meeting at your request, sir. So that takes us to public hearings, 3A1, and this is second readings. City Attorney Davis.
Thank you. The first ordinance for public hearing is proposed ordinance number 20-046, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to allow a bar on property located at 124 South Tennessee Avenue, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion approved and a second by Commissioner Reed. Discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we've had a lot of discussion about bars in general downtown, and just kind of some of the specifics on how they're allowed and all of that. I just wanted to take a minute today and pivot a little different direction with regard to the federal bar. I know one of my favorite speakers, Andy Stanley, always says, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone, because sometimes we can't applaud or give kudos to everyone, but I would be remiss if I didn't just celebrate with the federal bar today. They're just one representation of our downtown small businesses who made it through 2020. And, when we were talking about it throughout the year, we were going through semantics. Basically, they've been a bar, they're staying a bar. It's not a huge change for them. But, where they've been over the past year, they've traveled a very hard road. And from being shut down and to delivering curbside and getting creative and adding food to their venue and to move outdoors. They're just one of so many bars and restaurants and small businesses in general this past year who have struggled to survive and done everything to nimbly, accommodate all of the different rules and orders. And so I just wanted to take a minute as we're approving this somewhat simple thing today to just celebrate that they are still in business. And it makes me so happy when I drive by Federal Bar and all of our downtown retail establishments and restaurants, and I don't want any of them to have not made it through this
You don't want
past
to take
year.
it for
So
granted.
just
Excellent
want to
comment.
celebrate that. There are other places that have not had their wonderful restaurants and establishments make it like we have in Lakeland. So I'm thrilled to have that to report today.
Any other comments by commissioners? Any comments by the public? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Oh, excuse me, this is roll call, my bad. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye. So there you have it, and I apologize. All right, item 2.
Item 2 is proposed ordinance number 20-047, an ordinance relating to the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, making findings, approving the inclusion of certain lands located within the city of Lakeland, within the boundaries of the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner McCarley. And so this is not an annexation for the city's purposes. This is an annexation for our Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, which we have to do in order to levy the funds to be able to help support the transit district. So sometimes that can be a little confusing, and LAMTED works so frugally and so effectively. They're to be applauded on every front. So is there discussion by commissioners on this item? And any by the audience? Seeing none, Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that unanimously passes as well.
Next is proposed ordinance 20-049, an ordinance relating to the electric utility, providing rates for miscellaneous fees and charges, amending ordinance 5736, revising miscellaneous fees and charges related to cut-on services, service charges for smart meter reads, and establishing administrative fees for smart meter reads, providing definitions, making findings, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Walker and a second by
Second?
Commissioner McLeod. All right, and discussion by commissioners? And discussion by the audience? This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. That unanimously passes as well. We do not have any redevelopment, community redevelopment agency reports. That brings us to the city manager, and Assistant City Manager Cologne will make those 2 items as report.
Okay, item A is recommendation to award the RFQ number 28, approval of professional services agreement and task authorization to Rummel, Klepper, and Call LLP for project development and environmental studies and minor highway design for Tenorock Trail Segment 1, Lake Crago Drive to State Road 33 at Old Cumbie Road. Excuse me, city staff in coordination with Florida Department of Transportation developed a request for qualifications for the PD&E study and minor highway design. The study will identify one alternative alignment plus a no-build alignment for a new multi-use trail that will ultimately connect the city's lake-to-lake bikeway network with the Tico-Auburndale Trail and General Van Fleet State Trail. The project objectives include providing a 12-foot wide asphalt multi-use trail with trailheads following the general path of the existing access road maintained and used by Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission in the Lake Crago Park Access Road that is operated by the City of Lakeland's Park and Recreation Department. The majority of the trail is located within the Tenorock public use area. It is recommended that the City Commission authorize the award of the RFQ number 28, approving professional service agreement and task authorization to RK&K for project development and environmental studies and minor highway design for the Tenorock Trail Segment 1 in an amount not to exceed $499,258.17 and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute the professional services agreement and the associated task authorization. Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McCarley
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Walker. Discussion by commissioners.
Thank you, Mayor. This is another segment in the strategy to eventually have a trail system extending from Fort Meade all the way up through the Fort Fraser Trail, crossing State Route 60 and the Parkway, and then through the lake-to-lake complex in Lakeland, eventually through Tenorock with this segment and over to the Van Fleet Trail, which leads then north to the Sun Trail, which crosses the state of Florida. So I congratulate on the staff, Chuck Barnby and others, who've really worked at this year after year to put this into a really wonderful trail system that will follow the Peace River and go into the Green Swamp. And this is just a key piece to make that happen.
And as COVID has shown us, people go more to the outsides, they want to do more exercise, the trail system becomes increasingly important.
And if you haven't rode or walked those trails, the Fort Fraser down on 98 or the Van Fleet through the Green Swamp, it really gives you glimpses of old Florida, and it's just a wonderful gem we have here in Central Florida. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Walker.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think Commissioner Salvage, my colleague, has already shared some thoughts about it and what this would encompass, and I'm glad that he did so, especially for those who may be listening as well as those in attendance. But I think if Mr. Ryan, is he here, Mr. Ryan, is he here? If he could share even more and elaborate how important this connectivity would be for those of us that like biking and walking and jogging, how this would, as Commissioner Salvage already alluded to, just come into one fit here.
So what I think is really wonderful about this particular trail is it takes advantage of the infrastructure you invested in the Lake Crago Park by connecting Lake Crago Park through a wildlife management area, like you talked about, undisturbed natural habitat, to State Road 33, where the Florida Department of Transportation is planning a continuation of the trail there. And there's also multiple other trail locations, future segments within that wildlife management corridor that the department is looking at.
I think that's important here, and as Commissioner Salvage has already shared too, for our listening audience and those that we know all these things behind the scenes, and it's just important, I think, to make sure, as you've alluded to, as well as my colleague has done so as well. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
We appreciate the work on this, Mr. Lazenby,
No
because
problem.
it is an exciting way to be able to have people connect safely.
Yes.
Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Just timeline. What's the anticipated completion for the study?
So this is what is a PD&E study, and for those of you guys who don't like acronyms, that's a project development and environmental study, which, because this is an environmental sensitive areas, we have to do several species surveys, avoid wetlands, and kind of tie down the location. The study is anticipated to take approximately 18 months. During that study, we are going to be able to do a portion of the design work, and the Florida Department of Transportation is also committed to fund the construction of the trail, and that's identified in their fiscal year 24 budget, which begins July 2023.
This is why these projects take time to develop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Any by the audience on this at all?
This current segment will not. It'll go from Lake Crago Park, if you're familiar where that is.
If you could repeat the question just for the mic.
She asked if this trail would go over Interstate 4, and this particular segment would not. It would go from the Lake Crago Park area through the Tenorock Wildlife Management Area to State Road 33, approximately 1.25 to 1.5 miles, depending on the final alignment.
Any other questions by the audience or comments? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Enthusiastically, unanimously passes. All right, item B.
Item B, a recommendation for approval of a task authorization with Civil Serve Design Group Incorporated for post-design engineering services for the Lakeland Park Drive Connector project. The Lakeland Park Drive Connector is a half-mile project that will connect Lakeland Park Drive with Carpenter's Way. The project will provide a 2-lane roadway, 10-foot wide asphalt pathway on the north side of the road, street lighting, and stormwater drainage system. Civil Serve Design Group Incorporated is the engineer of record for the Lakeland Park Drive Connector project. Post-design services will be required during the construction phase of the project. It is recommended that the City Commission authorize the appropriate city officials to execute a task authorization with Civil Serve Design Group in an amount not to exceed $67,249 for post-design engineering services for the Lakeland Park Drive Connector project.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
By Commissioner Walker and a second by Commissioner Selvage. And a question by Commissioner Selvidge.
Yes, sir, Emily. Is this going to be on the boundary of the golf course there that leads up to the Carpenter's Way entryway? And so we've had to, over the years, have the challenges of gas lines on I-4 and encroachment on the golf course. How do we handle that in this proposal?
So I'm going to also invite Ryan Lazenby back up because this has been a Public Works project that we've been working on to get you up to speed.
So there was a right-of-way phase associated with this particular project, which we did impact a small portion of the golf course, and the owner, we got a stipulated agreement for that, and we also secured a temporary construction easement to use part of the parking at the golf facility for construction.
And so this construction will not take any of that hole that...
It doesn't take the hole. It impacted a small piece of the cart path.
Okay.
But there's a cure to address that issue.
And the Wedgwood Country Club, those folks have not objected to this? They have not.
We've been working hard on this.
Have you? Okay. All right. So, okay, I'm going where you've been.
Unless that's a hole you need more width on, is that a...
Okay. All right, well, thank you. That's
Very well.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work on this because it's been very hard to work through all of that area.
Yeah, that's been the longest half mile of road I know about.
It's incredible, and it'll be a wonderful connector when it's done. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Ryan also, and I'm trying to make sure I remember what was shared with us initially, because it's like, I consider it being the first phase, because we were, I think intentionally, we're trying to get from, as we call it, Lake Park Drive, all the way west over to 98, but this is just going to stop at Carpenter's Way, or what do we call it? Carpenter's Way, I guess you call it?
That's correct.
Which will still help support that traffic, not having to get on I-4 to get over to 98. But I can't remember what Mr. Gregg mentioned about the part that takes us all the way over.
So that's where those gas lines come in.
Okay.
If we extended it further along, that we would have major gas line impacts, the multi-million-dollar impacts, and plus it would more significantly impact the golf course and one of the holes that runs parallel to the interstate.
So by doing this, of course, it will still allow those, many of our residents who live in North Lakeland, as we call it, or those coming into North Lakeland, going from east to west, can get it onto 90 versus getting back on I-4 to get down to 90 exit. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Okay, thank you.
As a point of information on that gas line, we've talked about this at other commission meetings, but there's a gas line that runs from Tampa Bay to the Orlando airport that pumps aviation fuel, which is the highest, most expensively refined fuel. Never hits a tank at all. It goes all the way to the airport in Orlando, and that's on the north side of I-4. And we run into this lots when we're trying to do projects because you can't encroach on that by certain measurements of engineering. It does not run to our own airport, and so we actually tank in the fuel for our own airport because it's on the north side of I-4. So who knows, on a longer term basis, we might be able to fix that too as we get busier. But today we truck that fuel. Any other comments by commissioners? Any by the audience? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Also unanimously passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Lazenby, for being here. Okay, that brings us to our city attorney. We are going to go to ordinances first reading, one of which will be ordinance 3, proposed 21-003, but that is the third one we're doing. The first one is proposed 21-001.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a number of ordinances for first reading. These ordinances will be read by title only today, and they will be noticed for a public hearing on January 19th. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting today, the public hearings on these will be held at the RP Funding Center. The first is proposed ordinance number 21-011, an ordinance relating to public right-of-way, making findings, vacating a portion of public right-of-way located between 1919 and 1925 George Jenkins Boulevard within the city of Lakeland, Florida, authorizing the recording of a certified copy of this ordinance, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 21-002, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 4998 is amended to provide for a modification to PUD zoning on property located north and east of the Polk Parkway, west of Airport Road, and south of Old Tampa Highway, to include additional properties located along Bunker Road, and to adopt a revised site development plan, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 21-003, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 3839 as amended to provide for a modification to PUD zoning, to adopt a new site development plan, and to increase the maximum number of multifamily dwelling units allowed on approximately 29.27 acres located at 3301 Airport Road, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 21-004, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to allow a retail commercial bank on property located at 221 East Main Street, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. The next ordinance is proposed ordinance number 21-005, an ordinance relating to zoning, adopting findings, providing for RA3 single-family zoning on approximately 7.02 acres located east of Mall Hill Drive, south of Lakeland Square Mall, and north of Victory Church, providing conditions, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing an effective date. And I believe the last one is proposed ordinance number 21-006, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 3989, amending an existing conditional use to allow for the relocation of school facilities on approximately 32.28 acres located north of the existing campus for Victory Church at 1401 Griffin Road, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Once again, those will come back for actual public hearing where public comment will be taken in full on January 19th at the RP Funding Center.
All right, thank you, sir. That takes us to resolutions.
And we will ask to move the first resolution to the end of the meeting to be held in conjunction with the equalization hearing. The second resolution is proposed resolution number 21-002, a resolution authorizing execution of a joint participation agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation for construction funding for the State Road 572 Drainfield Road at Don Emerson Drive intersection improvement project, making findings, providing an effective date. And we did include in the agenda packet the drawing of the roundabout. So that's, I believe, is right after the actual resolution, third page of the agenda item.
All right, so is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Walker, and a second?
Second.
By Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. This is the, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Palmer, I appreciate the drive here to the map we received today, so it makes a big difference to me. Of course, you know, we've, in difference to the project that we're going to be hearing next week, obviously this will make a major difference in the traffic component down off where Airport Road intersects with Drainfield Road. And I'm pleased, again, that's been a big concern of mine, is the traffic being routed to Drainfield Road from the north with potential development there as well as airport, I mean, with the Amazon and other things there. It's good to get this map to have a better understanding of what's going to transpire in the near future. And I'm also pleased that our Commissioner McLeod asked for some in-depth review of what's going on in the general area. We hope to receive next meeting as well to give us a better understanding of the bigger plan in the whole general area.
This is a project that we have worked alongside FDOT as well for a long time to get approval on. Will become our largest roundabout, and it requires a lot, some land that has to be taken to move it a little north of the road to make it possible, as you can see in that. But that keeps that traffic flowing and allows a southern entrance and exit out of the Publix headquarters, which is important. Yes, Commissioner Selvage.
I'd like to know, and following up on Tiger's comments, going north on 33, north and east of Polk City, you come to a very big roundabout. And I think it's going to be about the same size as this one. So to Tiger's point, if we could have somebody, you know, just that's a county roundabout, to see if how that's worked. That's got about at least four entry and access points.
Thank you for staying.
And Ryan, I
Are
know
you
you're
referring to the roundabout on Dean Still Road?
Yes, exactly. You were there. That's right.
Well, this roundabout that we're discussing today is designed to accommodate a interstate semi-trailer with a 53-foot trailer on it, similar to that what's on Dean Still Road. Dean Still Road has high-speed approaches.
Yeah.
This is 45 miles per hour and is a much lower speed. One of the concerns.
25 in the roundabout itself.
One of the concerns I have with Dean Still Roads, if you look at this roundabout, you see how we introduced curvature prior to the roundabout? Yes. Dean Still Road has a couple of their approaches go straight into the roundabout, and they've had a couple of vehicles in the middle of the night that just go straight through. So that's and that's really critical in a high-speed approach. So we've introduced the curvature into this roundabout to help stair-step down speeds. We want vehicles traveling no more than 25 miles per hour when they actually enter the circulatory roadway. And in this particular, when they're traveling around it, probably around 16, 17 miles per hour. Semi-trucks won't go that fast. We modeled them around 9 miles per hour. In addition to that, this project does include significant lighting enhancements to help motorists know, hey, something's different up here.
So you actually have vehicles go over the top of that roundabout.
So
Dean Still.
yeah, there's been a couple. And that was one of the first roundabouts that was done in the district, and there's been some learning, yes.
Just a comment to Commissioner Selvage. Dean still doesn't have those medians either that you've put in. It looks like you have a median on each approach, is it?
Yeah, we call those splitter islands, and standard roundabout design does require splitter islands. And you'll notice on the side street, they're not quite as long because they don't need to be. There's not a whole lot of through traffic out there, but that's another thing to basically, what we do out here is this is a flush shoulder roadway. So the first thing we do is introduce curbing. Something's changing. Then we introduce deflection, okay, which will force them to slow down, or they go through it. And then we introduce those splitter islands, and then we actually have landscaping in the middle.
Commissioner Selvage.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Mann.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ryan. You've been so insightful today. Thank you for coming. Does this show the other picture that we have on our printout?
Well, they may have it. Do we have the second slide?
It would show the neighborhood, and everyone's here today. I thought that they could see their neighborhood, and how it.
We can.
No, I sent it late in the game.
We could grab it and put it on the.
You want to use this one to put it there?
We have one.
Well, and just to fill time. Okay, well, just to fill time, since y'all are here today with us, we always love it when neighborhoods like yours gets involved and sends us emails, because the more information we can have, the better decisions we can make. And it's really, we've had a lot of really robust discussion today about that whole area out by the airport, Publix, where you all are. There's another big development, PUD, that we've been discussing. So it's really, I think, insightful to see how all the puzzle pieces fit together, so that you can not just see your own neighborhood and the decisions that we're making, but also see what's happening around you. So earlier today in our meeting, one of my colleagues asked to be able to see how this also affected your neighborhood, because it's another outlet for Publix, to be able to go out onto Drainfield instead of onto Airport Road. So it seems like 2021 is going to continue a busy trend of development in Lakeland, and we haven't, I could probably look to my colleague, who've been here longer to see if this is as new as it feels, but it feels like there is a lot of things happening in Lakeland, Florida, and so I think it's really important that we get insight and information, not just from the experts on our staff, but from the neighbors who live there, drive there every single day. So, thank you for all of your emails and all of the things that you've already contributed, because it's really given our staff a lot more to work with and a lot more questions to ask when they have developers come to them. So, certainly next meeting we'll have a conversation with you all as well, but I thought it was fun that we were talking about this roundabout that's in your neighborhood as well. So.
Excellent comment, Commissioner Mann. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Ryan, one other question there again. You indicated there's going to be some landscaping in there. Is there going to be any permanent type structure? Invariably, we see somebody go through these for some reason or another. I didn't know it's going to just tear up some landscaping or do some serious damage to a vehicle or what?
So the landscaping that is proposed to be constructed with the roundabout is minimal Florida-friendly landscaping that the Department of Transportation will maintain. So it's sable palms, and I'm not a landscape architect, so I'll probably get this wrong, but it's muley grasses around sable palms. We did have some preliminary discussions with the airport and with Publix on what's called a community aesthetic feature. The DOT has a program where you can put art or some sort of gateway feature inside state right-of-way with certain approvals. Basically, they don't want it to be a traffic safety problem, and they want you to maintain it.
Might be an airplane or something like that. I've seen it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, and the progression on roundabouts, generally, even where you provide that kind of a feature, is landscaping first, so people adjust to it, and then if you add something later, you know, it can be 3 or 4 years later.
And you want to be careful because you don't want people going into the middle of it to take pictures and things like that. So that's what the kind of departments.
You can't even stop at Magic Kingdom now as you go in.
That's right. I didn't know that.
All right. Any other comments by commissioners? Any by the audience? Questions by the audience? Okay, we'll need you to come up to the mic and introduce yourself, please. And Ryan will be off to the side. If it's a question, he'll answer. Let's just do one at a time, and you know you can kind of cue yourselves.
Claire Steiger, 2976 Bellflower Lane. You probably know my address. And Caroline Lakes. I have seen Rooms to Go have a truck and 2 trailers. So I know that the roundabout that I think Don is talking about has like an inner lane that the trucks can use for their trailers to be able to make the curve. I'm assuming that has enough space for 2 trailers. Sorry.
That's right.
That has enough for 2 trailers.
The good things about Rooms to Go traffic is it won't be turning traffic through here. It'll be through movements through the roundabout. And so, yes, it could accommodate the double trailer through that. The reddish area you saw on the exhibit, that's called a truck apron. It's colored concrete, and it's specifically used for trucks to be able to off-track into the apron.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Next.
Ann Weeks, 303 Songbird Lane. My question deals with, I had heard a rumor there was also going to be a roundabout at Waring Road in Drainfield. Is that true? And does that mean the speed limit will be lowered from 50 miles an hour on Drainfield?
The Department of Transportation does have a roundabout under design. They have a right-of-way phase and a construction phase programmed. The construction phase, I believe, is in 2024, their fiscal year 2024, and their right-of-way phase is in 2022 at Waring Road. That roundabout will be a hybrid. It will have dual lanes in some directions because of the amount of traffic going through there. The decision to the speed limit is governed by the Florida Department of Transportation, so ultimately they will make the decision on what the roadway is posted at. But typically when we see these types of improvement, it does follow that the speed limit is reduced.
Forgive me, my hearing aids don't stay on with this darn thing. My name is Alan Morrison. I live at 3240 Bellflower Way in Lakeland, and have for the last 18 years. My suggestion to you is that 2 or 3 of you at the city expense go to London, drive on roundabouts with tractor trailers. You will never vote for it after you do that. It is the stupidest thing, putting a 50-foot tractor trailer crossing in front of cars. Stupid beyond belief. The same people that gave us concrete blocks on Florida Avenue. Thank you.
Barbara Sweeney, 3356 Fiddle Leaf Way. I have been on Drainfield Road at 5 o'clock on a Monday. It is a nightmare. My biggest problem is emergency vehicles getting through. I think you know that fire department number 7 is right by the airport. Now, you said a semi-trailer can go around it. Well, is there room? People, when they see emergency vehicles, want to pull over to the side. Is there room for them to pull over? What are they going to do when a fire truck, whether it's the Waring Road roundabout or the Dawn Emerson roundabout, how are we going to accommodate emergency vehicles?
Ren, you want to comment on?
Sure, so the circulatory width of the roadway is 18 feet wide, so it's almost 2 lanes it is, so there is a little bit of extra room to move over, and also we have that truck apron that we're talking about. And just to point out, this roundabout, it will actually accommodate more traffic than a traffic signal would at this location with less delay and greatly reduce the number of crashes through the roundabout. So it's actually will be an improvement to safety, and it'll be an improvement for motorists getting through this intersection, especially with the recent expansion of the Publix corporate office.
Any other comments?
The Department of Transportation, we were approached, and we did consider a traffic light at the location. In fact, several intersection improvements were considered, and the Department of Transportation went through what they called an intersection control evaluation study, which weighs the current future cost and the safety benefits for four-way stop control, a traffic signal, different things like that, and the roundabout came out as the preferred alternative.
Commissioner McCarley.
Thank you, Mayor. Ryan, can you explain the relationship between Department of Transportation and us as the two separate entities? I think that would be very helpful.
So this is a state road. It's State Road 572. So the Department of Transportation governs, and it has the ultimate decision-making authority to depict or to make the decision regarding what kind of ultimate intersection control is going to be used. Now, the city, obviously all these surrounding areas are in the city of Lakeland, and some of this development is in the city of Lakeland, so we've been in discussions with them governing that, but they have the ultimate say in what's happening out there.
Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to my colleague, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for even sharing that, because I think so many times we do get that kind of a question from many of our residents and about different roads and trying to make sure they understand where we are a partner to many of the things that happen on roadways in our city, which we don't have the final answer to say what's best. I can just recall right before the holiday time, we were at 10th at Kathleen Road, where, you know, we've been trying to make sure we can get with, as you probably know, Mr. Ryan, through with Chuck Barnby and others in our city operations to help support, you know, even a simple left turn lane. And we've been working on that for over a year plus now, but it's a state road. So even though 10th Street, as we know, is our city-owned road, but Kathleen Road is not ours. So we have to work with FDOT to make sure that they understand what we're talking about, and then whatever they say would need to take place, it's just how it lands. And that's
correct.
I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but that's the way you have the difference of government and their particular rights to say yes or no, maybe so, or whatever. So I think it's important, as you share, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, so our listening audience and those who may be here can understand those kind of things that we have to even make sure we can understand and deal with as well. Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Any other comments by commissioners? Any other comments by the audience? All right, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Yes. So that unanimously passes as well.
All right, next is proposed resolution number 21003, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, approving the form of and authorizing the execution and delivery of an allonge to the outstanding City of Lakeland, Florida Revenue Note Series 2019 AMT, approving the form of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a First Amendment to loan agreement, providing other details with respect thereto, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
And who was made it? Commissioner McLeod. Okay, thank you. Discussion by commissioners. This is a formality to extend the note term. Any comments by the audience at all?
This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. So unanimously passes as well. Number 4.
Proposed resolution number 21-004, a resolution relating to public right-of-way, making findings, declaring the city commission's intention to adopt an ordinance vacating a portion of public right-of-way located between 1919 and 1925 George Jenkins Boulevard, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Discussion by the audience. This is a roll call vote as well. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimously passes. Mr. Cook, do we have the equalization board? Okay, we will cease meeting as a commission, move into an equalization board, and have our equalization hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Notice is hereby given that assessments have been entered against the lots and parcels of land in the city of Lakeland, Florida, as provided by Chapter 86 of the Code of the City of Lakeland, Florida. Said assessments being payable within 30 days with interest at the rate of 8% per annum as hereinafter specifically set forth. What that means is that if you received a notice to appear at today's meeting because the city or city contractor has mowed or otherwise cleared your property and the city is going to charge you for that, this is your opportunity to address the city commission and express any objections you might have to that or ask any questions that you might have. And our communications director is showing the various different assessments that are proposed for assessment today on the screens overhead.
It's interesting when you take a look at those assessments to see how many of them are out-of-town landlords who don't do everything that they ought to do, which is why we have to have this process in place. Okay, is there a motion to approve the equalization?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Walker. Discussion by commissioners. And then are there any audience members affected by this list that would like to represent a reason why not? All right. None at all? Oh, I'm sorry, right here. Yes, just come up to the mic, sir, please. Thank you. Just state your name and the property address if you don't mind.
Good evening. My name is Kenneth Strong, and I'm here for property 640 West 14th Street. And what I observed is that I received a letter regarding clearing my lot, but they didn't clear my lot. They did the ones next to mine and the one across the street. So I have lots 1 through 5. 1 through 5 wasn't cleared. 6 was. So, I mean, I may not be here to see, who I need to see may not be here, but that's why I'm here, because I do have a letter. And I did pay the fine, but when I received this letter here, I said I need to come and see what I can do.
Mr. Denny, any comments on this? You know which property this is?
640's not on the list, is it?
Yeah, 641 on the list. Yeah. On lot 640.
No, what's 640?
Yeah, 640.
Yeah, so 641 exists.
641 is here, right?
641's right here.
Right.
What's the name of the ownership, sir?
Kenneth Strong.
Because I don't see it on here.
I don't see it.
I'll tell you what, Jim Daney representing Code Enforcement, if we could just remove this from the roll and we'll meet with the property owner and get it all figured out.
All right, I'd be willing to do that. I don't see where it's on it.
It's on the roll. It's on the list. It's not on our list. Yeah.
That's what I think the problem is.
Mr. Mayor?
Give me 1 second to see if I can find it. This paper does say today, but this comes from customer billing, so.
It just doesn't look like it was included in this group.
I mean, if it was paid, it would have been taken off the list, so.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't be on here if it's already paid. If they paid it from the time, between the time he got this letter and the time the roll was made, it won't be on there. So,
Mr. Mayor?
I wrote you a check on December the 2nd, put it in the mail. This here letter came on December the 4th.
Okay. Yeah, it crossed in the mail.
All right, so the two of you could have a discussion.
Yes, sir. I'll let you keep this, and you and I will get together, and we'll, since it's not on the roll, you don't need to do anything. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Is there anyone else that's represented on this list? And you guys can do that out of the meeting if you'd like. Any comments by anyone in the meeting? Okay, all those in favor of approving it as it's submitted, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. It unanimously passes.
And then we have
Now we end as an equalization board and reconvene as a commission, and then we will look at that resolution B1.
the related resolution is proposed resolution number 21-001, a resolution relating to assessments determining the necessity for having cleaned and cleared certain properties within the city of Lakeland, providing for the assessment of liens against such property for expenses incurred in the cleaning and clearing thereof, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion approved in a second by Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimously passes. That brings us then to the utility portion of the meeting, and we had a recommendation by the utility for a decommissioning, and I don't have that in front of me.
On the 19th.
Pardon?
Thought it was January 19th.
Yeah, that would just, that's going to come back for official action on January 19th. I mean, I know there are people here that want to just make comments under the general comment, audience comment portion of the agenda.
Perfect. So that brings us to the audience portion of the meeting. So anyone who would like to make on any topic that they'd like to, we'll do one at a time. Oh, sorry. So we'll go here first.
Hi, my name is Mark Kellogg, 4361 Whistlewood Circle in Lakeland. My question is somewhat related to the rezoning of our area, but it really is related to some rezoning activities, well, previously. We border on AquaClean, most of you know that. We, in the early 2000s, approached you several times about some of the concerns with the fact we're adjacent to an I-3 industrial site, 250 feet from those storage towers to some of our residents who subsequently moved, had a lot of turnover back there. The reason I'm bringing that up is that when we proposed that or raised the issue to the city, one of the comments we were given by the city staff was that, well, we should have checked the zoning before we bought. Now, frankly, it was relatively hard back then. It's easy now. We go to Google Earth or GIS viewers, fantastic. But the point is, we were told we should have checked the zoning. Now, the parcel adjacent to us has been rezoned, minimum rezoning in 2003, a major one in 2006, and again, we're rezoning that again. And I guess my question, I'll just relate it to the AquaClean, is you told us we should watch the zoning and pay attention to that. So just please acknowledge that we're trying to pay attention to it, and we're fighting kind of a uphill battle, because there's always a reason to rezone adjacent properties. But remember, we live here. We live next to AquaClean. We live next to other major industrial facilities. We now have a marijuana growing facility next to us, which reeks for the people adjacent to that. They didn't require rezoning, but it's kind of difficult living where we are. So please, when you think about rezoning, consider it very seriously, because it affects your residents.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Assistant City Manager. For the record, my name is Tim Seiko. I'm president of UWA Local 604. I represent Lakeland Electric and Water Utilities. As you know, on December 14th, 2020, 11 days before Christmas, the unthinkable happened. Joel Ivey announced the closure of Unit 3 to be on March 31st, 2021. Because of this spur-of-the-moment decision, many lives will be affected. The reason I say spur-of-the-moment is that notice that at the November 2nd, 2020 Utility Committee meeting, he's on record saying that Unit 3 would probably be online until 2024, or if a catastrophic event that costs more than $5 million happens, then, of course, the unit would shut down. We asked him several times what the catastrophic event is causing this shutdown, and now he changed it from a catastrophic event to many items that led up to this decision to close, referencing an issue over the summer. Most of y'all may know there was some issues with bearings and stuff with different pieces of equipment at the plant, and it cost a good chunk of money. But that's not one catastrophic event. That was an event that was found during a maintenance time. The reason it did cost so much is there were many bad decisions made by our management at that time. They had a contractor come in. Contractor didn't flip the bill for doing the work. Thankfully, our experienced employees at the plant stepped in after the contractors got rid of them, and they repaired the issue. They repaired the issue faster than the contractor management hired. The question I have is who's accountable for that contractor, and why did they allow it to go on for so long? And so my question is, if what happened over the summer is the reason for the shutdown, why wasn't Mr. Ivy truthful to the utility committee by telling him his intentions all along? This is what makes this a spur-of-the-moment decision and not a well-thought-out plan for sure. It's also believed that Mr. Ivy's holding back some information to all of you. To you, the employees and the public, it's been publicly stated, and I quote from a recent media release that he put out, the City of Lakeland and Lakeland Electric are assisting affected employees to find other positions in the City of Lakeland, helping with resume assistance and providing training opportunities. And this is far from what is happening. To this date, there's no assistance to hire to other positions. There's no resume assistance or training assistance that's been happening. Since last year when we met with management and came up with the agreement for the future shutdown, several employees have tried to get other city positions and been turned down. The most recent one, there was an employee who works in our coal yard, and we know that that's going to go away when coal goes away. He just applied for a position that was basically cutting grass for the city. He gets turned down for lack of experience. I don't know about you, but I cut my grass every day, and I'm sure this employee cuts his. He also operates heavy equipment in the coal yard and is an experienced laborer, so why was he turned down? Also, there are very few positions listed as being open, and we are told there's a hiring freeze because of COVID-19. The question I have is COVID-19 stopping the shutdown of Unit 3 and having to lay off 60-plus people? I'm asking now, since the rash, not too thought-out decision to shut down Unit 3 has been announced, can we please get the assistance as promised and keep as many of the skilled employees we have to help benefit other city departments? Morale is at an all-time low at the power plant. Everyone is wondering what are they going to do to support their families. Any hope of keeping employment with the city may help and would be very much appreciated. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. I'm Bobby Mahoney. I'm the Director for the Utility Workers, Washington, D.C. So I have a lot to say, and I know I only have a short time. So we saw that the Utility Committee made a recommendation. They took a vote and took a recommendation. And we think it's outrageous that we didn't get to speak before they made that recommendation to the mayor and to you commissioners. Like Tim was just saying, we have an agreement where we were going to close this plant in 2024 unless there was a $5 million catastrophic event that took place up and above the operating cost budget. So what happened from when he talked to you in November and us? He hasn't spent any money and there is no catastrophic event. So we don't understand why the plant doesn't stay open. When they asked the questions, we saw the numbers, and there was a $15 million difference if you closed the plant. But nobody asked, what happens if you run it to 22, 23, 24? What do those numbers look like? No one even asked that. You know what I mean? We'd like to see those numbers. And then there's a lot of other things that, you know, this power plant, Unit 3, takes 300,000 gallons per hour of dirty water, sewer water. It goes to Tampa sometimes, but when Tampa takes a shutdown, you guys dump that into Peace River. Has anybody taken a look at the effects of, how that's going to work? Well, what's going to happen with that? Right now, your generation, Unit 1's been shut in for a long time. The old Unit 2, it blew up because the work orders weren't looked at, so that plant blew up. You replaced it with MJ2. That was, we call it the swamp plant. That was the used plant you bought. I know at one of the utility meetings, they told you that for new gas turbine generation was look at it for $1 million per megawatt. That's not true. It's $500,000 per megawatt. We think you were told that only because he spent what you could have built a brand new plant for what you paid for JM2. Brings us to Unit 3, a coal burner. It's the only plant running today. You don't have any other generation running at all today except for Unit 3. So what are you going to do with that? There's no Unit 4. Unit 5 is Larson can't even run because the copper's dumping into Lake Parker. So they have to wait until after the end of March till they get their credits, so then they can dump some more copper into the lake. The solar panels, the solar farms you have, they're not even cost effective. It costs you more to generate a megawatt than it does that you make. But the Mr. Mayor emailed me over the weekend, and he told me to say what we want. Well, what we want is we want to keep this plant going as long as it can. The plant's running now. It's like a 64 Chevy, but there's nothing broken in it. There's nothing broken now, so let's keep the thing going for as long as we can. If you want to control the coal pile, I don't think that'd be a hard thing to do. So why don't we keep it going? And they talk about future generation. Joe Ivey's talking about nuclear. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. The last thing you want is any nuke down here. What are you going to do with the rods? You know what I mean? Every city in town that ever had a nuclear there, they're stuck with those rods forever. I mean, it's just crazy. So why don't we look at a better plan and get some generation going? We have an agreement where they never honored one thing in the agreement about getting jobs and all stuff. If we went to 24, we were only going to have 19 affected employees. And we knew we could get those other city jobs if they chose to take them, and we only had 19 guys to worry about. Now with the speed up, it's 60. So if you're going to close the plant, our ask is we want to make sure no one gets laid off. I mean, there's, it's a big city, there's plenty of jobs. Plus, what's going to happen to the city pension fund? When you take these out of the pension fund, who's going to make up for that hole? The pensions costs are going to go up. Where's the pension study on what happens with all that? Usually, the utility in other municipalities we represent, when something like this happens, they have to put the money in there to keep that pension fund whole. The money usually comes from the utilities. And that's what I was told by Tony Delgado, that I never had to worry about that plant closing until they negotiated with the commissioners about making up the pension money. So that's what we were watching for, and that's why this whole change came totally unknown to us. We didn't see it coming. We knew the plant was running great. We knew they spent a lot of money in July. Yeah, that's me, huh? Happens to me all the time, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to catch you sometime on the sidewalk, and we're going to have a long conversation.
We can do that after this meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of my people.
Anyone else? All right, that brings us to commissioner comments. Who would like to begin? Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And a couple of my colleagues I've shared this with. I have a couple of things I'd like to share, if I may. Saturday night before Christmas, as I take you back in time, I had a fire loss and lost a home. And many of you all were not aware. I did not make it public knowledge that I had dealt with such a situation. But I want to make sure I give kudos and many thanks to our Lakeland Fire Department. I happened to be away in North Georgia during the time when I got the call on that Saturday night that the house was inflamed or engulfed in fire. And my wife and my son, who lived, who was just got home from college, and I where we're visiting my adult children and grands up in North Georgia. They live north of the city there. And many of you probably know Lawrenceville area, Snellville area, around the Mall of Georgia, we call it. And just to get that kind of call, I was speechless. And for you to know, it's not my primary home, so people need to know that. I want to make sure it's clear. But it was a home that I do have, had tenants in, and just had done some remodeling and getting things ready. And this family had only been in a couple of months. And to get that kind of call was just, and the emotion from that. But I tell you what, just have the kind of response from Lakeland Fire Department, me witnessing something like that. I hear it all the time from our citizens or residents here in our community called Lakeland. But just to make sure, you know, because I'm thinking, what is going on? And could I speak to a fireman that's on the property? And I was able to speak to one of the firefighters. And I just want to tell that our department how much I'm thankful. I think Fire Station 1, representatives from Fire Station 1, 3, and 4 had to come out. The entire street of Montrose Avenue between Kathleen Road and 10th Street was blocked off. And of course, the house is a total loss. And I think they had the prevention division that was there that was able to, while I had them on the phone that Saturday night, and get Red Cross involved as they did. I didn't ask for it. They told me what was happening, and I was just pleased to hear and to be shared with the kind of response and the kind of support that was given by our firefighters. And I wanted to say thank you publicly, because I've shared it with Chief Riley and a couple of others, but there were so many names that I was given who responded from those different 3 fire stations. And of course, even though the house was lost, no life was at stake, thank God for that. No one was injured, but just the emotion from dealing with that, I had to turn back around and get back here to take care of the matter because of claims, you know, you do with the insurance department insurance company, excuse me, and the fire inspector and all that kind of thing. And of course, still dealing with it. But I want to just go on record to let our fire department know how much I appreciate. And of course, I can remember all of you all back during those times with Fire Station 7 and see the importance of coming to know why it's important to have, you know, the kind of public safety and that safety being so important to people, and hitting it home with me made it more evident. So Lakeland Fire Department, if you're listening and hearing it, again, I want to tell you thank you and kudos for what you did in that regard. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, I did get to hear, as a fellow colleague, your comments made with the new year coming into play for 2021. And I think it's important, as you did share, we do not lose sight of Lift Lakeland. I was just clearing out some things here at my desk, and I looked back at some stuff I had from 2016, and that we're talking about some 4+ years ago. At that time, we were still talking about racial inequities and inclusion. And one of the things I wanted to share, as we've already done as a commission, and my colleagues, we know that it is so important to make sure we have the discussion. It's not going away. But the more we talk and the more we can understand each other, I think it's so important. I know, as I looked at my notes back I had, it was October 13, 14, 2016, and I was talking about justice and, you know, ethnicity and gender and class, all those things that, you know, we talked about back then, and here we are still dealing with it. It's like, Lord, when is it going to end? And I just want to make sure I tell you, Mr. Mayor, as our face of this community, it's important that we do it. I want to tell you thank you for doing it. Thank you to my colleagues for wanting to embrace it, because the one greatest thing that I've learned in all the many years of wanting to talk about this subject matter is 2 things. It's fear, you know, of what may happen if we talk about it, what kind of problems may come about if we talk about it, what kind of problems that still exist as we talk about it, and then sometimes it's just we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to know about other ethnicities and class and gender and those things that come to make what I call America to be what it is today. Because we're all in this melting pot together, are we not?
Yep.
So I want to tell you again, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that. And thank you to my colleagues that we don't lose sight of the importance of having that subject matter still discussed, still to make sure we can deal with matters as best we can for, social justice. That's all it is. It's just social justice issues. And lastly, I want to find out, because I think you all may have discussed it, and it may be a point to you, Commissioner Stephanie, because you're our point person. Where are we now with that summit and broadband? And I know we're moving somewhat forward, and maybe you all have no insight. I just want to make sure I'm on task to understand where are we in the scheme of things, because I know it's under your purview in some sense, being our commission representative, Commissioner Mann, and the digital divide situation as well, because I do understand we're talking with Pastor Dr. Holmes that he did have a conversation with them, and I don't know where it's time to give a report. If it's not, I can wait, because I want to have a good report coming from you than just none at all at this time.
Yes, I would really love to defer to Sean Charles, our city manager, when he gets back into town, because he is kind of taking the behind the scenes. Everyone has had tasks from our IT department to LE department, and I know our city attorney's office. They've all had tasks that they've been working on behind the scenes. So I think when city manager gets back, he'll be able to give a more thorough report on how all of those things are coming along.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
May I ask a question on that?
Okay, yes.
Because I see that Commissioner Reed, I believe, and I are on the broadband task force with you, Commissioner Madden. And so I just wanted to ask where, and you may not know this yet, maybe we need to confer with Sean when he gets back, but our role as we move forward in these discussions, because from my understanding, that task force has been more active at times than others, and so I was just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see if we'll go on. We were going to set like a set meeting of 2 Tuesdays or 2 Wednesdays a month. I'm looking at City Attorney Palmer Davis because he was at the last one.
I think one's scheduled for not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday.
So then I'm assuming that you would be added to the invite list.
Okay,
To
excellent.
participate in that meeting.
So we do, I think there's the meeting coming up, is what you're saying just now? We got the plan meeting?
The meeting, the next Wednesday is just as staff and then the commission liaison. Unfortunately, by including other commissioners, then you have the sunshine law issue.
Okay, so it'll be that meeting with Commissioner Madden and staff and that kind of thing. And we'll get a report back as we normally would do with any other task force or committee assignment. Right, Mr. Mayor?
The cumbersome part of this is that it's an RFP.
Yes.
And you finalize all the ornaments on the tree, since it's seasonal.
Yes, I understand.
To get that clear, and that's where they are. And so
Okay.
until that's all done, you really can't give the report.
I would say that we've narrowed down the issues, both technical and legal. So at least we've identified the issues, and I think next Wednesday there'll be a fair amount of discussion to try to resolve some of those issues.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I had an update. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So City Attorney Palmer, for, the other colleagues on the broadband task force, would Sean be the point person to give them an update after the meeting? Maybe he could send an update. I know Kevin from Summit has been sending some updates. How best would they, if they're not invited to the meeting, are they able to attend the meeting and not speak at the meeting?
That would probably implicate the sunshine law, unfortunately. But they can certainly be briefed after the meeting. That would certainly be a possibility.
And once that is finalized, then it would be normal.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for us as a task force to attend that meeting, just trying to clarify what our role is, if there is one, and maybe we don't know yet. That's okay.
I'd like to make an announcement too before we move on if I can. There's a meeting planned already with our Polk delegation as we move into the legislative session on January 19th at Polk State College. So I plan to be there as, because of being in my position at FLC's first vice president now. And that's when they're fielding comments from anyone, I guess, from Lakeland, I mean, not Lakeland, but Lakeland Polk County, about any concerns and things regarding any subject matter prior to, of course, the actual session beginning in March of this year. So I don't know if you all had that date or seen that yet. So March 19th, January 19th, from 1 to 6 at Polk State College. I'm trying to find the location right now, so if you can bear with me, or before the end, I can let you know what.
If you could get that information, Tracy.
I will. I will. Thank you.
Commissioner McCarley.
Well, I want to thank you for the vote of confidence to be Mayor Pro Tem. The mayor has a very big shadow, so I'm happy to help in any way and happy to serve, and it's a pleasure to serve the city of Lakeland as a commissioner, but now in that role too, which I'm going to find out from Attorney Davis what I'm supposed to do in that role. I have number one up here, job description, ? So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I want to thank the neighbors of Caroline Lakes for coming out. I've said this before at your HOA meeting and to several other constituents when we had Dixieland issues and other groups, that we're only as good as elected officials as our constituents are. So we can't read minds, unfortunately, so it's very important for you all to come and speak and to share with us, and we really appreciate it. And I think that's the first time the Pledge of Allegiance has sounded so great in our chamber since I've been elected, with so many voices saying it together, so thank you for that. And I think it's really important to note, as I brought up the relationship between the City of Lakeland and Department of Transportation, is that sometimes we do feel like, as citizens, these are very simple answers to these questions and what makes common sense work. We are tied by statutory regulations through the legislature, as well as our relationships with other entities throughout the state of Florida. So there might be SWIFMUD, which is Southwest Water Management District issues. There might be Department of Transportation issues. There might be county issues where we have different segments of the Southwest District specifically. They're county and they're not city. And so we have to work together and be as collaborative as possible with regard to all of these entities. And I think it's always important for our citizens to realize that we have parameters that we and our staff have to work within to keep the forward motion going on all these different projects and what's happening. And there's a very fine balance between development and growth and healthy growth and taking care of our citizens. And that has to all come together. And I really want to highlight, Palmer Davis just alluded to Sunshine, which I know many of you know, but within Sunshine rules and regulations and laws, the only time we speak is when you see us speak. So if we're in an agenda study, when we ask questions at agenda study, I always encourage people to watch our agenda studies now that they're online more regularly, because that's where a lot of our dialogue comes to be. Commissioner Walker and I can't talk offline. Commissioner Madden and I can't talk offline, or with the mayor or any other commissioners. What you see is how we have to hash out these things. You see us do that, and that's a great thing about Sunshine, but it also makes it very difficult for us because, again, alluding to my first comment that we're not mind readers, we can't read one another's mind either. So everything that we converse about with regard to the city has to happen in the public eye, and that makes it arduous sometimes, but it's also very important for our constituents and residents and people to understand how that works together and that process of how it all comes together. I want to thank Commissioner Selvage. I don't think you're an old horse. I think I admire you, and I have always looked up to you and really enjoyed our friendship. Like Commissioner Walker, we can't talk outside of this anymore for a while, but I really appreciate you being here and serving the public again. It's not an easy task, but the city of Lakeland's worth it, and we're better off having you here. 2021, we hope, is a great year. I think what Commissioner Walker, I just alluded to, is hard conversations need to happen. And I think that this year we've learned in 2020 what those hard conversations look like. And I don't think we should shrink from them, but we should have hard and difficult conversations. Having you all here today, I mean, that's part of a hard conversation, and the only way we grow well is when we have them. So I applaud you again for being here, and applaud all of our commission for tackling hard conversations, the mayor for addressing Lift Lakeland and other things that happen. The union discussions are hard conversations, and we have to have it, and you just sort of have to buckle up and be a part of it. And sometimes it's not pretty and sometimes it's not comfortable, but that's the only way we do better. And I'm excited for 2021. And then the last comment, well, 2 comments. Thank you to Ryan Lazenby. I think today was the Ryan Lazenby show, which is huge. We have a great staff here at the City of Lakeland, and Ryan, today he talked more than I've heard since I got elected. So I'm glad he was here to answer all those questions. And wrapping up, we have a strategic planning meeting in February. And so for City Manager Sherhouse, who I think is probably listening, I still want to see that draft strategic plan that we've been working from and we're working toward. So I'm looking at the Assistant City Manager just to make a note. Emily, thank you for being here too, for filling in. Make sure that we're all on the same page with that. And I kind of wanted to have that before the holidays so I could have read it over the holidays, but that didn't happen, and that's okay. As long as I can have it before February, that'd be fantastic. I think I'm done. Sure.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to speak to that a little bit. We will be getting that to you shortly, and you will be, Tracy contacted you all to set up the appointment with Dr. Collins, who is our facilitator again this year. Obviously, we know it shifted. We moved up the time frame because we're having it in February, where hopefully it'll be its long-term home. So we're a little bit off cycle. We're not the full year, and we're still kind of working out some kinks. But Dr. Collins is having the 1-hour interviews with you all, and that intent is to have the document to you beforehand so that you can review it and read it prior to your interview with him. February 16th and 17th is coming fast, and there's a lot to do, so we're hoping to get everything. And it's a good plug that the Lakeland View survey, where we survey our citizens, is online. So that's a really good listening tool that we use to help develop the strategic plan, and you all use it, of course, as well. So there's the plug to our community members to do the Lakeland View survey.
Thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Selvage.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of difficult conversations, I want to talk about masks. We've all witnessed in the last 3 or 4 weeks extreme surge of COVID-19 in this country, in this world, and locally. Polk County, the last 4 weeks, has exceeded by far the positivity rates in COVID. In fact, one day last week we were at 36%. We're now, I think, every day about 13% in the teens. Our positivity goal back last summer under the mask mandate was 5%. So we've doubled that just routinely. And I was reading an article in the Ledger this week, and Dr. Joy Jackson, a lady with whom I have utmost respect, who's our public health director, had this to say: I'm a strong proponent of masking as one of the key strategies for prevention of spread, but policy decisions are up to our elected officials. It makes me wonder if our healthcare frontline people, other people who are interfacing with public every day, whether it's restaurants, grocery stores, and our medical professionals, they must feel like they're out there alone in this fight. Because here in Polk County, the elected officials have done nothing. We just sit here and watch this happen. Now, our governor, as it's his right to do, he took out our authority to enforce mask mandates. And that was his decision. I come from a long history of following the chain of command, and so I'm not proposing that we say, no, we're going to go our own way. But I think we really do need, as elected officials, to, one, set the example and to try to rally our citizens. I'm reminded of what happened in World War II, told me by my grandfather and father's generation of kids in Lakeland collecting tin, rubber, aluminum to give for the cause. And so people growing victory gardens, gas rationings, there was a feeling that we're in this together and we're going to have to pull through it together. Somehow we've lost that. Now it's become a political statement. I have the right not to wear a mask, so screw you. And so instead of looking at masks as common courtesy, respect, one for all, we get the impression there are people out there who are only in it for themselves. So I'm not ready, Mayor, to propose that we take a mask mandate, but I propose instead that as a commission, we join President-elect Biden on January 20th. He's going to issue a 100-day mask challenge. He's going to say it's a mask mandate. He doesn't have the authority to mandate to local governments unless it's a federal building. But I think we as a city should join ranks with that call, and through a communications effort for not only masks, but also vaccinations, where we have another issue. People saying, hey, if I don't want to take vaccinations, I'm not going to take vaccinations. So I'm not saying to my colleagues that we need to take action. I don't want to put Lakeland Police Department in a position where they can't enforce what we tell them has to be done. So I'm really asking for your collaboration here on how we address this. But I will not back off the point that as elected officials, we have a duty to do something here, rather than watch these terrible statistics every day come at us. And so with that, Mayor, I don't have a motion. I'm asking if we can't, between now and January 20th, on the inauguration day, where we can't have some campaign that joins President-elect Biden.
Well, I very much appreciate your comments, and I concur that we have to move forward. The reality is we have not, as a county, led in this regard, and as citizens, as commissioners, we can do our mandate and do it through businesses, but it really needs to be a county-wide effort, because we immediately get out of city limits, and there's people that want to make issues out of some of these things. The problem is that we have room in our hospital still. When we don't have room in our hospital, when the elective surgeries stop, if the elective surgeries have to stop again, then it will become an important issue to people. And so we are watching these numbers daily. We really want to stay at 10% or less. 5% is when it starts to minimize. We recognize Christmas was going to happen, nobody, and the holidays, and nobody expected not to see some surge. But we've had we're running 15.42% today. And we're actually, it was yesterday, this is always a day in arrears. And, that's at least 2 times higher than we wish we could be. This is a time for the county to lead and to be able to consider what you're talking about, which is on January 20th, what position we might be able to take with respect to that. And the cities of this county want that leadership, and they want that uniformity. This is not a time to be political. We are past elections. This is a time to care about what's important to the healthcare arena and people's lives so that we minimize what's unnecessary. And regardless of where people want to stand on the masking issue in terms of their personal First Amendment rights and freedoms, what we know is that when we masked, then we saw our rates drop where we live. That's the bottom line. And before we masked, they didn't drop. And so we can expect that masking and those disciplines matter no differently than if you cough and sneeze all over someone instead of covering your mouth. It's considered poor form. And so I appreciate you bringing it up. I do think we're handicapped to some degree to act as a city. We have an opportunity for the county to lead in this, and I would appreciate a response by them on this matter. So I appreciate your bringing that up. Anything else, sir? Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just had 2 things, and one of them we discussed a little bit at our last meeting, and you discussed that I'm supposed to hear a cash register chinging money every time someone complains about Amazon planes, but I still need to say that I have heard complaints. And so I know I had some folks reach out to me from the Sylvester area behind Grove Park, who have really been hearing the planes and complaining. And then off Rolling Woods Lane, there's been several neighbors who've called me that are complaining, and also in Grasslands. And so I thought that I remember one of the issues about the noise is the level, how high they can fly based on Tampa or something. So I was curious if there was a way I could even share with these constituents, if we're not the powerful ones that can, raise those heights, for whether it's on landing or on takeoff, if I could give them some information on where they could advocate.
Sure. So it is air traffic control, the ATC, is what drives the decision-making on approaches and takeoffs for all airfields. We are within Tampa's ATC approach zones as an airport, so they dictate what happens in our arena. They can coordinate those items perhaps more cooperatively than they are doing today. And I have written a letter on behalf of the City of Lakeland and our airport to request that with no response. What's happening is that about 5.5 miles out, they're bringing most of the 737s and 767s in at 2,000 feet. So that is why, without a graduated descent, so that is why they're noisy for a long time coming into the airport. That technically leaves them outside of the airspace approaches for the Tampa airport and runs that traffic underneath it, which is what they want to do. We really believe there's an opportunity for them to mitigate this and provide more angular descent coming in. Meanwhile, Amazon is very aware of their need to be good citizens and are trying to run those jets as quietly as they can. Once they're in that airspace, they have to stay safe for approaches. And so, 2 of those planes a day are 767s and are much noisier than the 737s. But we're going to have more of those flights, not less of those flights. We're working to have commercial air and have more flights. We should probably have 3 times the commercial flights we are experienced today within 5 years at our airport. That's why the Department of Transportation and Federal Aviation Administration have poured in millions of dollars into our airport, is because they believe it is a critical airport between Tampa and Orlando to grow on a long-term basis. So we have to be good citizens about recognizing we're going to be living near an airport that planes come in. We really need Tampa ATC is the air traffic control, is the decision maker in how they can allow more lenient approaches. Certainly after 7 o'clock at night and till about 7 in the morning, that 12-hour period of time, it can be much more liberal in terms of the approaches that are allowable. And those are the times too that are noisy and can wake some people up, because there are 2 early morning flights out of the airport as well that take place. And they go right over my house all the time. So I have them, at the 1,700 feet, I think, as they're about to get down. And there's a part of me that wants to always go, this is exciting because this is how we're going and growing. And there's a part of me go, that was really loud. And so, you have to kind of handle it in terms of what we want to do as we grow. But we believe, and Gene Conrad, is well respected within this Central Florida aviation arena, as well as nationally. We have opportunity to work more cooperatively together, it would seem, than is being done.
Okay, well, that's good even to have that resource, and maybe if there is more collective action, that they could get a petition going or something for the Tampa ATC. So the second point I have is, we believe that government closest to the people is the most effective, because guess what? We get to enjoy the rules that we make. And, I don't think it's the same up there in D.C. They don't have to really maybe feel the full ramifications of the decisions. So in that spirit, I wanted to recognize someone from our code enforcement who showed up at my door, Angela Kaiser, for her excellent service. My husband met her at the door, and she let us know that we had some illegal dumping. And of course, my husband was shocked and said, "No, we do not have any illegal dumping." I mean, he follows all the rules ever since we went through the recycling. He teaches all the neighbors, no pizza boxes. Look at this bag we got from. It tells all the instructions. So everything I teach him, that we learn here in City Hall, he is very good at following all those rules. So he said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, we do not have any illegal dumping." She said, "Oh no, you can't have any yard trash in the alley." He said, "Really? I never knew that." And we, just moved last week, so we, wanted to be nice to our new people living in the home, so we did a lot of trimming. And he said, "It says we've got 2 days to take care of this pile." I said, "Oh, well, we just voted on that. We just expedited that process." And so you better get busy, get that trash out of the alley. So he had all my sons home for the holidays, thankfully, home from West Point and University of Florida, and all these boys had a big project, and they moved it all really fast. And she was so kind to us. And so I just wanted to give Angela Kaiser and our code enforcement to say the things that we've decided here are working. I mean, they are on it. They are going around town removing any illegal pile of trash, and I can attest to that. So we got it cleaned up, I think, in record time. I hope. Angela can tell on me if we didn't, but I wanted to say she was top notch.
Okay. You'll get your letter like we all do, saying it's done, it's completed.
Thank you. Usually by the time it gets around to Chad and I, we don't have much to say. But there again, I want to congratulate Sarah again. And you don't live in an alley anymore, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. You got a new
I learned just before I left.
There again, I hope 2021 is much better for all of us than 2020. There again, I see a lot of my constituents out here of my age, which is good to see. I'm glad to see you show up. Red shirts look great. You need to come back on the 19th. I've heard you speak about South Florida Avenue. I get a lot of talk about that too. You need to show up again when that comes to transpire. There again, I want to give a kudos to the fire department at Glendale. I had a similar situation at a business I had. Fortunately, there was no structural damage to the business. Also, I read somewhere recently that Lakeland was in the top 25 places to retire. And there again, it's a great tribute to our citizens and the city, and I hope we can open back up. And then in reference to the mask arena, there again, I choose to wear mine. I think I see a lot of masks out here, and I see a lot more people wearing masks than they have in the past. And probably the most unfortunate thing is, in my biggest complaint is the type of mask. But anything is better than nothing from that standpoint. But that's really, and I want to wish all of y'all a happy New Year, and I hope to see you at some meetings. We do have board affiliations that have some vacancies from time to time. There's a wealth of knowledge out here and experience. We'd like to call on you at any time. So please participate in the city government.
I'm going to hitchhike on one portion of what you said, which is the Dixieland lane realignment. I was with the Florida Department of Transportation, Tebow, who said it is not a road diet. It's a lane realignment. And I said, okay, I'll learn. I'm always willing to learn. So that's what we're supposed to call it, as we go forward. Just so that we all have this in sync, that's an October 1st evaluation till an October 1st year that we put in. So we're all experiencing what this is like and what it produces on a long-term basis. The curbs, as you see them, wouldn't be left like that on a long-term basis. That's the temporary way in which it is set up to just establish control through that area. It would be filled out nicely in sidewalks, and there would be trees down that as we'd go along. But what we need to measure is how usable is it? How well does it allow us to recapture that Dixieland area and make that area more marketable on a retail basis to restore it, as well as not impact the traffic speed getting through. And so it is interesting. We're running somewhere between 30 seconds delay to a minute and a half Coming south after 5 o'clock is our worst period of time. On Florida Avenue during that period of time, that's about a minute and a half longer than it's normally been. That's measured with Bluetooth devices as they pass under sensors. So that's how we know that, and we're measuring that on the side roads as well. So the other benefit of it is that it is to reduce accidents. We actually have an increase in rear-end accidents that has occurred. Some of that as a result of people being kind to let somebody in off a side street, and all of a sudden everybody stacks up. We just need to move through that as we're going through it to see how that goes, and because that needs to work itself out as we get better using it. But let's all keep open minds. The reason those curbs are in blocks like that is because if you decided not to use it, you can take a bulldozer blade and pop those off, okay, and then repave. And our goal is to see how we do as a city on it, and to see if it helps us recapture that area commercially, as well as add safety from the total accident basis as we go through it on a longer term basis without creating any unnecessary delay. So that's kind of what we're all looking forward to trying to evaluate together. Otherwise, I can understand how you can be really critical of it and recognize that. And it creates some changes in habits. So thank you for your patience. Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. For the update on the lane realignment, I like that. I've always thought that the term road diet sort of put us a couple steps backwards from the start because most people don't like diet. So just trying to overcome that. But that is helpful. I think that's helpful to give those updates and to keep our residents informed on what's going on with it, why it's being done the way it's done, because for most people, they see it, but even I have to ask you, well, what's the latest? What's the status on it? So that's helpful. Just a couple of quick things, because like Commissioner Reed said, by the time it gets around to us, so much has been covered, and I would just echo what my colleagues have said. I want to welcome officially Commissioner Selvage back to the dais. It's great having you here, and just your knowledge that you bring to the process. I think just watching you today in the debate and how the questions you ask and the historical knowledge that you have on these topics is invaluable. So it's great to have you here for a few months. And this morning, the fire department, the training center, not ribbon cutting, but hose uncoupling event was fantastic. And so just, I know people out there may have seen that we attended that event, but having that training center, state of the art for our fire department, for our men and women to train, and others around the area to come in and train at this facility in our backyard is huge. And I know a ton of work went into that over many years. And so I'm sure it's rewarding for those of you who've been on this dais longer to see something like that come to fruition. And so kudos to everyone involved in that. I've had a couple of questions about vaccine availability through the health department, and I know that's not directly in our purview, but just a number of seniors who've come to me and said they've tried to call the health department, haven't had much luck. Can you help? So I don't know if the city manager's office can connect with Dr. Jackson and her staff, and just so as we're talking about vaccines and we know where to point people and what to say, that would be great, Emily.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Or do you have a...
Yes.
Okay.
So Audrey, our emergency manager, has emailed us. She has been in contact with Dr. Jackson from the health department. So the health department put out the call on their social media, and within 2 hours, all 200 slots for vaccinations have been filled. Okay. So the Department of Health will continue to do Wednesday vaccinations as long as they receive them in and have stock. The number for those interested that want to call and register, it is 863-519-7911. And their phone lines did go down early this morning.
Do that number again, will you please? And
they're still being worked on because of the volumes of calls they're receiving. Again, that number is 863-519-7911. And the suggestion is to keep, for those who call and ask their questions, to keep an eye on their website and also their Twitter account.
And just to add on to that, Emily and I spoke about it earlier. My mom tried calling when I saw that release from the health department. It was busy, so it must have been their phone lines being down. So, thank you for that.
Will you send that around to us?
Yep.
That would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. It is 863-519-7911.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
The frustration for Dr. Jackson is the absence of vaccination supply.
Yeah.
And so that, we're feeling it. And so they're only able to to schedule what they get.
Right.
And the flow isn't strong enough yet. And when we think about how quickly we've made this vaccine, and actually that they've been making it for months in advance anyway in hopes that it would be approved, it is pretty miraculous that you're producing millions of vials of something this quickly in the first place, but it's a limited supply. And so to the extent that we want to see things reverse and this trend disappear, obviously people's willingness to be vaccinated is very, very important in the process of this as well if we want to be healthy by summer, which I think is our earliest expectation against the virus to restore to those levels. All right, anything else by anyone else? All right, I have nothing more to add. I thank you so much for our first commission meeting of 2021. I look forward with you to a transforming, deliberate year, and I think we can continue to work towards that end. The strategic planning is going to be very, very important to us, and I'd accept a motion to adjourn, because I'm going to do this as a matter of course.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. We are adjourned.